All right, Peter. Thanks for hopping on this podcast, man. I'm great. Glad to see you on here. How's your day been so far?
So far, okay. Up in Massachusetts. It's a gorgeous day in Mass. Sort of crazy snowstorm just kind of came wallowing in, so I'm excited. I'm hanging out. I'm having an isolated weekend. My kids are busy doing their thing, and I am just come up. I have a place up in Massachusetts. I'm just kind of come up here to chill out and refocus my mind, get started for 2024. Got a lot of plans, a lot of work to do.
All right, it's good. It's good. What's some plans for you that you got for 2024? I know you got some big things planned out. Just want to hear about it.
So I have. So I recently, unfortunately, lost my wife. My wife passed away in August of cancer, and so that really kind of threw me for a loop. And so the last, it's only been 5 months. It really feels we were together for 35 years. We had two really awesome kids. And so, when you lose your partner after so long, I mean, you lose your partner after any time, it completely like makes you reevaluate what's going on, and you got to sort of change things up, and you sort of dive into new things and just sort of deal with grief. Grief is a powerful thing in its own right. And so you really have to sort of dig deep into your spirit and figure out what's important to me, and what do I want to do with this sort of second phase of my life that really will impact the world in the most, important way, right? I'm a firm believer that, I don't really think it's that important. Passion prizes, obviously I have a successful career on Wall Street. That's all fun and good. But for me, what the journey is really more about how I can motivate and inspire other people to be their best self and to find something they love to do. I'm sort of known as the connector. I love to the platform that I've created and the job that I have and the life that I've lived has put me in sort of the crossroads of so many incredible people and so much opportunity. And I love to connect people to opportunity. For me, that's sort of cool, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's more important for me to introduce you to my life, my journey, my failures and successes, and then to put people together that may better you. You're a young guy. You're on this journey. I've been around for a
Yeah.
couple of 24s more than you. So I've had a chance to meet some amazing people. And so I love surrounding myself with young people who are doing something, shaking up the world, trying to make it a better place. And so, I'm sitting here regrouping the beginning of the year. Um, Planning some speaking engagements all over the world. I'm actually going to speak in Congo, in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Yeah.
Has just opened up a new big financial center. They are probably one of the richest countries in the world because of natural resources. So Congo, most people don't really know enough about the African continent, but most of the cobalt and tungsten, which are the things that go into the components in an iPhone, gold and uranium and diamonds and things that are sort of luxury items, come from Congo and come
Oh,
from
wow.
other countries. So, from a natural resource point of view, it is one of the richest countries in the world. They've just recently opened up this huge new financial center within the world of my educational platform that we can talk about. Also, I have a lot of people, followers in Africa. I lived in Africa from 1983 to 85. That was another period in my life. Anyway, so I'm going to speak in there. I'm setting up a couple of speaking tours. I'm going to be in Abu Dhabi, or no, I'm going to be in Dubai in September, speaking at a conference. I am hopefully going to Europe to speak, I think, in either in Italy or Germany and a couple places like that. So speaking engagements, whether they're about motivational speaking or about financial education and spreading the message about young people investing in their future. That's one thing. I'm working on a bunch of different projects. I'm going to be writing a book about my sort of wild, crazy journey. I'm on the board of a bunch of different companies. So I'm sort of dipping my toe into that world. I'm working in a new media company promoting young startups and whatnot on Twitter Spaces. So I'm just as busy as can be. So I'm just trying to figure out where does all my, I mean, I have, a little bit about me, but I have a daunting level of energy. And, for me, it's sort of like the more I do, the more energy I have. It's not like I tire. So I'm on this wonderful wheel. And so I like to stay busy. I like to really take on all the projects that are thrown at me that seem like they have value. And then I kind of weed out the ones where they're good players or bad players, where there's good opportunity or not. So a lot going on.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's awesome, dear. Well, first of all, I just want to say like sorry for your loss. That's like, I know it's very unfortunate. Yeah, I wouldn't even be able to like know what to do. So like, mad respect to you. And
Thank
well,
you.
like, well, second of all, like everybody know you as like the Einstein Wall Street. So like, I just want to know, get like a little background. Like, I know you're all like famous and now, but like, I don't think anybody knows like about like, your upcoming or beginnings or like how you like even gone to Wall Street. Like, if you just tell me like a little bit about like little.
Sure, absolutely. I can go from the beginning and go to the
Mhm.
and pick it up where we are now. So I grew up in New York City. My parents are Holocaust survivors. They are from Eastern Europe. They spent 4 years in Auschwitz, in the worst concentration camp. All of the members of their family were murdered, and basically a big part of my ancestral family was decimated during World War II. My parents ended up in a displaced person camp after the war, where prisoners who survived the Holocaust ended up going so that they could rekindle, meet other members of their families that may have survived the war. My parents ended up meeting. They did not know each other before the war. They ended up meeting, falling in love, coming to America. My father went on to become a very well-known doctor. My mother was his partner in crime for 66 years. They were really an amazing couple, having gone through what they went through. Their upbringing was extraordinary. My mother's family was in the food business way back in Eastern Europe in the early part of the century. My father's family was in the chocolate business. He was the president of a company called Suchard Chocolate, which is still around today. It's a Swiss
Wow.
chocolate company. So then they obviously, their families, their lives were decimated. They came here and started a new beginning. So that's ingrained in my DNA, that ability to be resilient in spirit and
Mhm.
in energy, and to be able to sort of, pick up the pieces of your life and start new. And
Mhm.
so they came here. My father ended up going to medical school, became a doctor.
Wow.
And so I grew up on the Upper West Side in New York City. And I've lived there my whole life, although I've lived all over the world at different times. During high school, I was a bit of a hustler. I was a bit of an entrepreneur. I was, selling T-shirts at Grateful Dead shows and doing all kinds of wheeling and dealing. So I was always looking for action, way back as a teenager.
Mhm.
And then I ended up going to the University of Massachusetts, where after high school, I went and I lived in Israel for a year. A lot of Jewish kids back in the 70s used to go to Israel sort of on a pilgrimage back to sort of the homeland. And so I did that for a year after high school. And then I came back to the States. I decided I wanted to study agriculture. So I ended up going to the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, that had a really big ag school. And not really sure where that was coming from for me, but it was something I wanted to do. And I got a full degree in agriculture after 2 years. And then I kind of realized that, that there was really no future in that at the time. I guess, if it had been a different time, like now, everybody's out here growing weed, right? So I guess if it had been 30 years later, I probably would have been a weed farmer or something. But at that point, none of that shit was legal, so that wasn't my calling. And I had during the war, my father adopted a young boy whose parents had been killed, and he was 8 years old, and he ended up surviving the war with my father and my grandfather. He ended up coming to America, ended up becoming a very wealthy and successful businessman on Wall Street, and so I kind of grew up. He's much older than me. He's still alive. He's 94 years old.
Wow.
But growing up, he was sort of an uncle or an older brother. I mean, he's much older than me. I've been 55 for to age myself. I've been 55 for 10 years. So he's a whole lifetime older than I am.
Yeah.
But we were very close growing up, and he said, enough of this agriculture stuff. It's time for you to get down to business. And so I ended up switching my degrees, and I stayed at UMass, and I ended up getting a degree in international business. And is that the only degree? Yeah, I think I got a degree. I got a degree in international business, and I was on sort of the 5-year plan in college. So I stayed there for an extra year because during college I was doing a lot of different things already. So I had gotten into jazz music. Jazz is a big part of my life. At least it was back then. And so there were at UMass, there were a number of very famous jazz musicians who taught at the school back in the day. A guy named Archie Shepp, a guy named Max Roach. These are famous bebop musicians from the 60s and 50s and 60s. And so I loved the music. I loved these guys. I started studying the saxophone, and I started managing a number of these bands in high school, in college.
Okay.
So from 18 to 21, I was going to college, and I was managing these bands all over Europe. I was taking these guys on the road, and we were playing all the festivals, the jazz festivals in Europe. So I did that. As you can see, I was always multitasking, right?
Yeah.
I always had, I always had a gig over here and a gig over there. And so I finished college in 1980, and I moved back to New York, and I ended up going to Baruch College to get an MBA. I was trading commodities, which was sort of something that was sort of a hustle at the time. There's a commodities exchange in Chicago where they trade. I'm sure you've seen the movie. I hope you have the movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy. But there's there's stocks and equities at the New York Stock Exchange. And then there are commodities like orange juice, lumber, potatoes, all the other things, gold, silver. Those are commodities. So there is a commodities exchange to trade these things. So I was trading commodities. I was getting an MBA at night, and I ended up opening up a record store in Manhattan, in Greenwich Village, which was kind of the cool hip place back in the day. It still is. And so I had this very cool record store. It was partly an African art gallery and part a record store and part sort of a hangout for all the musicians. So I did that during the day. I went to school at night, and I traded commodities during the day as well. And so the store was really very special. It was modeled after a European record store where you used to be able to, this is back in the day of vinyl, right? Vinyl's coming back. It's kind of cool. But in those days, it was before 8-track, before CDs, before any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So you used to be able to come into the store, and you used to be able to listen to the records before you bought them. And we had a coffee bar. It was very cool. And it ended up just becoming a hangout. So that store stayed open for a year and a half. I closed it. It just was not a viable business. And I continued to try and get my master's. I never finished the master's in business. I attempted to get an MBA. I never finished it.
Oh.
In 1983, so you have to realize that the 80s in New York was kind of a wild and crazy time, drugs, alcohol, madness, and stuff like that. And so I also was a doorman at Studio 54. You probably heard of Studio 54. It was the first like red rope club back in the day. And so I was a doorman there for about a year. And so all of this kind of came back down to a crashed and burned. And in 1983, I ended up leaving New York, and I had a friend who ran a oil company, a Norwegian guy. So when I was in Israel after high school, I fell in love with a Norwegian girl, and I used to go back and forth to Norway. And
Wow.
became friends with this dude. He was really an awesome guy. He's still my best friend, and we've been friends for 50 plus years. Anyway, ran an oil company in West Africa, and I had sort of gotten myself in a couple of jams, and so I kind of needed to get the heck out of town, get the heck out of Dodge, as they say. So I ended up hopped on a plane, and I ended up going to the People's Republic of Benin, which is a small country on the west coast of Africa, next to Nigeria and Togo. So if you look at Africa, sort of this big horn, right in the coast, on the Atlantic coast, on this armpit of what they call Africa,
Mm.
is a place called Benin. It used to be called Dahomey. It was where slavery came from. It's where voodoo comes from. It's where a lot of gold and silver come from. So I ended up becoming the accountant for this Norwegian oil company, and I stayed there for a little over a year, and it was an extraordinary time. I got initiated into a voodoo cult. I did all this wild, crazy stuff. I built chicken farms in the villages. I used to, I used to go hang out. This was like, you have to realize, this was like a country that had really not been exposed to a lot of the rest of Western world. So they were very, very tied to the old African traditions. So there was a lot of voodoo and a lot of crazy, wild ritual stuff, whatever. I stayed there for a year. It was one of the great years of my life. And then it was time to get down to business. I came back to the States actually on March 23rd, 1985. And once again, my older brother said, enough with the bullshit. It's time for you to get down to business. And so my father, who was a well-known doctor by that point in New York, had a patient who was ran a brokerage firm on Wall Street,
Okay.
and it was clear that my personality was going to be was perfect for Wall Street at the time, right? So I ended up getting a summer job as a teletypist, sort of the lowest rung job on the floor of the stock exchange.
Mm.
Now, Wall Street's got all different parts to it. There's the upstairs people, there's mergers and acquisitions, there's portfolio managers, all that stuff. We can talk about that, but the floor of the stock exchange is really where all the action is, right? It's where the screaming and yelling, open outcry. You've seen it in movies, but it's a wild, action-packed place. And as you can see, I'm sort of an adrenaline-filled kind of fiery type of guy. So I got down there, and I knew the minute I got there that this was the place for me. It was perfect. And so that summer job turned into a real job. I ended up staying there. I ended up becoming an option clerk and a retail clerk and an institutional clerk on the floor of the stock exchange. It doesn't matter who you are, where you came from, how rich your parents are. You've got to go through the fire to see whether, to become a broker, right? Which is what I am today. To become a broker on the seat of this on the stock exchange, to have a seat on the stock exchange, is something that takes many, many, many years of building up trust and integrity down there, people getting to know you and whatnot. So I happened to be good at what I did. I was in the right place at the right time. I ended up starting at the bottom like everybody does, because there's no training for that job. And within about 3.5 years, I was able to get a seat on the stock exchange. And I've been there ever since.
Wow, that's crazy. It's a wild story.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. I guess my next question is how has like the landscapes of trading and like investment strategies like evolved over the years, and like what advice do you have for like individuals like navigating in these changes?
Okay. So look, the stock market, investing and trading has changed radically over the last 40 years. I've been on the floor of the exchange now for 38 years. And I think the most significant change happened around the time of COVID. So you have to realize historically, only very wealthy people could invest in the stock market. right? So that kind of made it a very exclusive club, right? You had to be called it's called an accredited investor to be able to invest in the market. You couldn't just be any Joe, Harry, Schmo from off the streets to be able to invest in the stock market. You had to prove that the money you invest in the stock market, if you were to lose 100% of it, would have no effect on your standard of living for 5 years. So that meant that only really rich people could trade the stock market. So the barriers to entry were huge. And what happened, what changed, first, obviously, things changed from open outcry. Technology came along, and the whole landscape of the stock market and investing and trading has changed over 40 years. But the most significant thing that people will understand is that around the time of COVID, Robinhood came along, right? So Robinhood, TD Ameritrade, all these small free trading apps sort of popped up, right?
Yeah.
And so as opposed to the days where only wealthy people could invest in the market, all the barriers to entry into the market got knocked down, and literally anybody with $100 and an iPhone could suddenly start investing in the stock market. And I think that's a wonderful thing, but there obviously is a caveat to it, because they gave everybody the keys to the castle. But what they didn't do is educate them about the rules and the playbook around trading and investing. So around May 23rd, 2020, around that wild time with COVID and the market crashing and all that stuff, all these free trading apps popped up, everybody out of nowhere, tens of thousands. In fact, the number is around 45 to 50 million new retail traders came into the marketplace because they could literally have an iPhone and a Robinhood or a Webull or any of these trading apps, and you could start investing in the stock market. And then you had this wild, crazy market with the meme phenomenon, GameStop. I'm sure you know all about that kind of stuff. All of that, I kind of call it the perfect storm, because you went from having a market that was very exclusive at this VIP club. Suddenly all the doors are open. The keys to the castle are given out to everybody. And it's like cowboys and Indians, because the market was wild, right? You had this GameStop meme phenomenon. You had Reddit and Wall Street bets, and you had this incredible, wild. It was literally like cowboys and Indians. And so, what ended up happening was it was a wild time, and it was an amazing time. However, probably 8 out of 10 people who entered the market around then, as I said, the biggest fault that happened was all these companies that gave people the keys to the castles did not educate those people. They did not tell them that they can lose more money they invest. They did not tell them that the stock market doesn't just go up, it goes down. They did not give them the playbook necessary to become a responsible trader or investor. So 8 out of 10 of those 45 million people that came into the market blew up their trading accounts, and they ended up going home, crying to their parents because they lost all their friggin' money. Don't ever believe that all these people who post shit on Instagram about how many millions of dollars they made trading GameStop. 8 out of 10 people who traded GameStop lost money. They didn't make money, right? So all that being said, the biggest change that's happened is what I call the democratization of the trading community, where suddenly everybody with an iPhone and $100 could suddenly trade the market. And for me, as a old timer, as a veteran in the market, I would say a lot of the people I work with are not as thrilled about it, because that was a bit of a cowboy and Indian time. But for me, I love young people. I love what I do for a living. And I love the fact that suddenly you all, and I'm throwing you in there, were suddenly invited to this fucking party, right? After all these years of you not being allowed at the party, you guys got the invitation to the party. So for me, I was really happy about that. What I've done that differentiates me from the rest of my cronies is that I took it upon myself with my partner, David Green, and I said, okay, there's 40 million new young people trading the market. The market is crazy, right? We got a crash here, a rally there, meme phenomenon, Wall Street bets, Reddit, the shit's gone, fucking cats and dogs living together, shit's fucking wild. I better take it upon myself to educate and put together a platform where all these people who now want to trade and get involved with the stock market get the playbook, get the memo,
Mhm.
right? So I've committed myself since March 23rd, 2020. I built an academy with my partner, David Green, to teach people how to trade the market. I go around the world talking about it. I have a huge platform on Instagram where I talk about trading. I do live free webinars every month. So I've taken it on the responsibility to try and
Mhm.
educate people. Now that you've been invited to the party, this is the kind of the fun analogy I use,
Mhm.
right? You need to know if I invite you to my party and you've never been to this party before, and you've never, like, drank tequila and done some crazy shit, and
Mhm.
you will show up at this party and you're out of control because everybody's having a wild and crazy time, and you have 12 shots of tequila and you're smoking a bunch of weed, and suddenly you're out on the corner fucking puking your guts out. Nobody told you the rules of the game.
Yeah.
Nobody told you that you take it one day at a time. You take it slow. You don't need 12 shots of tequila. One is plenty. You don't need to do all this crazy shit.
Mhm.
So, been invited to this party. For me, I've taken it upon myself to try and educate this new phenomenon, this
Mhm.
new generation of traders, to be able to do this successfully. There's nothing like it. I don't know if you've ever traded stock before in your life, but the feeling of buying a stock or shorting a stock and making a couple dollars doing it is one of the most exciting things in the world. The same way, there's nothing worse than being in a stock and being up about $1,000 and nobody told you to take a fucking profit, and then you're down $3,000. There's no feeling worse than that. And I'm sure you've experienced that. So, that's the biggest change over these years. And that's how I responded to that change,
Mhm.
by going out there and giving it my all to try and educate, motivate, inspire, and teach people and give everybody the playbook.
Mhm. So like, if there's young people who are watching right now, like, where would they be able to find your your academy?
Sure. So I'm known as the Einstein of Wall Street on Instagram.
Mhm.
I'm known as the Einstein O Wall Street on Twitter. I am known. I have a show called Einstein's Elementary and also Einstein of Wall Street on TikTok.
Mhm.
Now, if you go into the link tree in my Instagram page, you will find an academy called Wall Street Global Trading Academy. If you go to Google and you Google WSGTA.com, which stands for Wall Street Global Trading Academy.com, you will find this amazing course. It's very affordable, accessible, and fun. It's $499. It's 9 hours, 21 videos, and 200 hours of archival content. And our secret sauce, you buy it, it's a one-time charge, $499. You own it. You become a member of the academy. There's a $699 version where you get a boot camp, where you get to spend a week with my partner live learning the course in real time. What
Mhm.
our secret sauce is that we coach and mentor all our students live every week on Zoom. So
Mhm.
there are tons of people out there teaching, right? I don't think very many of them have the integrity and the law, the pedigree that I have, being on
Mhm.
Wall Street all these years.
Yeah.
But very few, if not any of them, coach and mentor their students. So if you join us and you buy the course or you buy the boot camp every Thursday night, you get a Zoom invite, and all the students come together. And my partner, David Green, who's the teacher, I'm kind of the motivator in chief. We get together and we go over the good trades of the week, the bad trades, successes and failures. We really have a community and a family that we've built over the last, since 2020, like late 2020, thousands of students all over the world. And so we've built this community that really is wonderful. And that's how they find me.
Mhm. Oh, that's great. That's great. So like, in this in the academy, do you like teach like just everything about stocks and like all the different strategies, and like what are like some like just like a little sneak peek of like what people would expect?
Sure. Sure. So look, there are a lot of people out there in the financial education sphere who do a thing they're called signal services, where they basically they create a community and then they will give people signals where to buy and sell stocks.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, that's bullshit. It's basically it's called what we call on Wall Street a pump and dump scheme, where what they end up doing is they will create a huge community. They will charge people a subscription of $29 a month. They will go out and they will buy a bunch of stock, and then they will go out to their community and tell people to buy the stock. And when everyone goes running to buy the stock, they're out there selling the stock. So they are using their community as a pump and dump, right? And so the best defense against what I call a rug pull or a scam is to educate people about what's called technical analysis. If you're hungry, I give you a fish. Tomorrow you'll be hungry again. But if I teach you how to fish, you will be able to feed your family forever. Same thing with Wall Street. If I tell you what stock to buy, well, you may make some money today, but you will not have that education and understanding of the ways of Wall Street to be able to do it for the rest of your life on your own. If I teach you the particulars of what we call technical analysis and risk management, where you use charts to determine entry and exit points in stocks, then and then you hang out with us and you let us coach and mentor you for a while. Well, then you will have educated yourself enough so that you can go out and do this yourself, or go out and teach other people to do it. So that's kind of what we do. We teach what's called technical analysis. Is basically the history of charting. It's basically using different indicators inside of a stock, which are called moving averages, which are called support and resistance. The reason somebody buys a stock is because they've seen on the chart that there is support there, right? There's things called resistance, which is when a stock is ran up fast and furiously, and it goes up against resistance, which is where we short stock, right? You can make money trading stock, buying it. You can also sell stock, short stock. It's a little more complicated. Maybe most people do know what it is. Some people may not, but there are ways of making money when the stock goes up. There's also ways of making money when the stock goes down. People need to understand that nobody got broke taking a profit. So we do our best to try and educate people on that. We give you a toolbox. We fill it with tools. We coach and mentor you until you can do this on your own. And then it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, yeah. So just moving away from all the academy and everything. I just want to talk a little bit about your iconic Einstein wig. So I was just thinking what inspired this unique choice, and do you think it influenced your success in any way?
So, look, I think all the things I've just described to you. So, first of all, I've got this wild, crazy hair. I got nicknamed the Einstein of Wall Street from a woman named Erin Burnett. She was a reporter for CNBC for a while. Now she works at CNN. And she used to call me Einstein. And then I think I got dubbed Einstein of Wall Street by someone else along the way. And so, look, I'm a little aged out of social media, but I'm very young at heart, and I always surround myself by young people who are really motivated and are inspirational, who are talented, young entrepreneurs, artists, people like that. So, look, all of the things that have been part of my journey, like my parents' journey, right? They came out of all the challenges of their lives. Learning about being a survivor, being about resilience of spirit and soul. My father was a doctor. He lived to be 97 years old. Wow. He taught medicine for 65 years. My parents were married for 66 years. My father was he was a humanist. He really believed that what one human being with another talking, holding their hand, and really experiencing each other's energy is so much more powerful than computers and internet and all that kind of stuff. So, and I've had challenges along the way. I haven't brought up a lot of them, but things. I've had time in the 80s where my life was really run up against some certain challenges. In the mid 2000s, around the financial crisis, I went through a number of spiritual and emotional problems on my own, and so it has not all been success. Trust me.
Mm.
For me, I'm a firm believer. It's not a matter of how many times you fall, how many times you get knocked down, and how many times you get back up and give it another shot. So all of these things, my relationship to my parents, my relationship to failure and success, my love for other human beings, the fact that I'm a firm believer, I love to surround myself with like-minded people who love to put together teams, who love to empower each other. I don't really need to be the guy who dies with a lot of cash and prizes and a bunch of toys. I'm much more interested if I can affect your life in a positive way. Right now I have a podcast where I talk to people in food, in finance, in fashion and fun, right? It's called Trade Like Einstein. I have a new podcast with a guy named Dan Ives. He's a very well-known technical stock analyst at Wedbush, and he's sort of this cool young guy. And we're doing a new podcast called Einstein and Ives, and we're going to just sort of cover food, finance, fashion, and fun, right? So I love innovative thought. I love people of integrity and honesty. I love people who like to put together teams of people to empower each other. And I think it's really a function of just my upbringing. I grew up in a family that had gone through adversary. What's the word?
Adversary.
Oh no.
Adverse.
What is the word? I'm blocking like you. Anyway, who had gone through challenging times, right? And so had survived, right? They were able to pick up their bootstraps and keep going, and I've had my own challenges along the way in my life. So, I want people to. So look, my best advice for young people is, first of all, it's not my line. There's a great line out there, and I don't know which philosopher said it, but if you find something you love to do, you'll never work a day in your life. I want people to go out there and find something they love to do. I want people to go out there, and believe that there's really no door that they can't knock on to try and do better, right? First of all, I need people to wake up every morning and be grateful for their lives, right? I need people. No opportunity is going to come finding you hiding under the covers. Okay, so that's number one. I need people to surround themselves by like-minded people. Find yourself a mentor. Find yourself somebody who you want what they have, right? And have done great things with their lives. And there are a lot of great coaches out there. There's a guy named David Meltzer. He's been one of my mentors. He was the guy in the Jerry Maguire movie. He's somebody he was a sports management guy. He ended up becoming a multi-millionaire, and then he lost it all, right? He went bankrupt. He lost everything, and he was able to pick his life back up. And now he is basically a life coach for some of the most powerful people in the world. Wow. So, I want people to, first of all, just never give up. I want people to find some gratitude. I want, kindness. One of David Meltzer's premises is he wants to create joy and happiness in 1 billion people throughout the world, right? The amount, and it sounds sort of, corny in a way, but so much can be accomplished by just a smile and a nice interaction with a human being on the street or whatever. There's a lot of people doing a lot of great stuff out there. There's my buddy Charlie Rocket. Charlie Rocket is, he's out in LA with you. He basically created the Dream Machine. He goes around the country helping people realize their dreams, homeless people who have been sick with cancer. He goes out and raises money. There's David Meltzer, who also runs a platform where he tries to empower people to be their best self. Go out there and find somebody who you love what they're doing. Ask for help when you're in trouble, right? We're coming out of years of COVID. Young people are going through a lot of stuff, whether it's mental illness, drugs, alcohol, whatnot. Life is not easy. Life is really fucking challenging,
Yeah.
right? We also are in this incredible era of social media. People can hide behind their phone. People,
Mm-hmm.
nobody, sometimes nobody knows what's really going on with you. You can post a picture of a couple of $10,000, stacks of cash on the back of a Bugatti, and no one can know that you're really hurting and you're really suffering and you're in trouble. So I want people to be aware of the people around them, reach out and talk to people and help people. There's so much we can do one person at a time. One of David Meltzer's things, he's a big part of my life. When I ended up getting COVID on March 15th, 2020, I almost died. I had COVID for 7 months, and I was hours away from death. And I ended up developing severe long COVID. I've had 9 surgeries over the last 3 years. And I'm actually just took off my neck brace. I've been wearing a neck brace for 2.5 years. So, and so there are people who really helped me come out of my dark spots, right? So, there's so many things you can do to help another person. There's so many things you can do to better your life, to better someone else's life. Look, what I started to go towards was that it's really important for us to let people know who we are and what we're going through,
Mm-hmm.
right? And give people the opportunity to help us. A lot of people don't share their real self with people. They put up this face on Instagram, on Snapchat or what, and some of the closest people to them may have no idea what they're really going through, right?
Mm-hmm.
So look, you have a platform, you're doing YouTube stuff, you're connected to this amazing new generation. Being a kid of your age isn't easy, right? There's a lot of crowded spaces. YouTube is crowded, but you seem to be doing something super cool. There's so much opportunity out there to build a really cool community, help other people do great shit, help people who are going through shit. And that's kind of what I've committed my life to. I go to work every day. My son is my partner. I have an amazing 2 kids who have really helped me get through, the loss of my wife, and I try and help them get through the loss of their mom. But I have built this community where I have people who want to do epic shit, right? I mean, there's so much opportunity to do epic shit. Don't ever sell your dreams short, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go out there and bang on every door. Go out there and find something, find something that really wakes you up in the morning and go do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait till all the planets align before you do it. Get up and start to do it one step at a time. Start at the beginning. And you will get there if you do it. But if you wait around and go, well, I can't do that because that's not setting up right, or I can't do that because of that, right? Then you're never going to get shit done. You're never going to realize your dreams. Just go out there, shake the shit up, and do epic shit. That's
Mm-hmm.
the best advice I can give.
Yeah, that's great advice. Wow. Um, my next question is like your investment philosophy. Like, what is your investment philosophy like, and how has like evolved over time? And are there like certain like principles or values that guide your approach to investing?
Sure. I like it. It's a good question. Okay, so I work on the floor of the stock exchange, and so that has kept me from really investing in the stock market because I'm kind of not allowed to invest in the stock market.
I'll be insider trading, right?
Right. Well, there are certain rules. I'm not allowed to be in a stock for myself that I'm in for a customer. And the business model and the business I run on the floor of the stock exchange, I'm in almost all of the stocks every day. So I sort of took it upon myself many years ago to realize, okay, I have a good business on Wall Street. Now let me try and figure out how do I share my investing and my trading strategy with other people. So first of all, as a young generation, I'm putting myself in your generation because I feel like I'm young at heart. I'm really like 25 fucking years old in my energy. But at the end of the day, we are the greatest consumer generation in the world. We love to buy stuff, right? If you looked in your closet, you've got fucking 10 iPhones, you got 100 pair of sneakers, you got tons of shit, right? We also need immediate gratification. I want to buy something, I want it now. I want what I want when I want it, and I want it now. I will go out on Instagram, I'll see something I want, I will buy something that costs $20 and I'll spend $30 getting it delivered yesterday, right? I mean, we have this mindset, right, where we just need the next thing, right? My iPhone 14 isn't fucking broken, but I got to have the iPhone 15, right? I mean, I always have to have that next thing. And so people need to understand that everything that's in our lives, everything we consume, everything we wear, everything we use, everything we do, from social media to sports to betting to sneakers to whatever, is based in a public company that's traded at the stock exchange. We are also incredibly loyal consumers, right? We love Starbucks, we love Nike, we love Apple, right? When young people ask me what to invest in, I always tell them to walk down the street at school, at high school, and look what sneakers is everyone wearing, what computer do they all use, what phone are they on, what social media are they on, what do they do in their spare time, right? And you'll end up with Apple, Nike, FanDuel, at Madison Square Garden, blah, 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 right? You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I think is important is we use those things. We're loyal to brands because we like them, right? So I think my first premise for people, and it's an investing strategy, is first of all, invest in stocks and not stuff. Okay, we don't need 100 pair of sneakers. We only need 5. We don't need the iPhone 15 if the iPhone 14 is not broken. So instead of all these things, we maybe should probably cut back on how many Starbucks we have a day. And instead of always getting that next thing, invest in those companies, right? Instead of buying the iPhone 15, keep your 14 and buy 5 shares of Apple stock. And I'm not recommending any of this stuff to you guys. Disclaimer, disclaimer. This is all for educational purposes. But think about it. You don't need, if I love Nike sneakers, well, maybe go out and sell a few pairs that I have. Don't buy the next one and go buy a couple of shares of Nike stock. If I love Starbucks, go cut back on how much coffee I drink and go buy a couple of shares of Starbucks stock. Invest in stocks and not stuff. Okay. Number one investing strategy. And also there's a thing where if you're 18 to 22 years old and you put money in, so I don't know how much you know about the stock market, but there are individual stocks, and then there are these things called indices or financial instruments, like the S&P 500, right? The S&P 500 is the Standard & Poor's 500. It's a basket of 500 stocks. You know all of them. It's Nike, it's Target, it's Google, it's Amazon, it's blah, 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 right? Everything you use, everything you know is in this basket of stocks. Well, you can buy individual stocks, right? But they may go up and they may go down. Or you can actually buy this basket of 500 stocks, which covers technology, retail, healthcare, consumer staples, all that stuff. And you can actually buy one share of the S&P 500, and then you will actually get exposure to all of these companies, right? And net, historically over time, the S&P 500 goes up. You've got some stocks go up, some go down, but net, the United States and the globe as a global world economy has over time gone in an upward direction. The trend is up. Yes, we've had crash of 87, crash of 2000, crash of 07, 08, the financial crisis, crash of COVID. But every one of those crashes or crises has been a better buying opportunity than selling. right?
Mhm.
Those basically is like it's like Macy's, everything going on sale for 50% off.
Yeah.
At the time, they were painful. At the time, it looked like the world was coming to an end. But net, historically, if my experience can share anything with you, at the end of the day, those were better buying opportunities than selling opportunities. So
Mhm.
I say all of this to say that if an 18 to 22-year-old were to invest, and this is not my line, this just happens to be a number crunch number, is if you put $250 into the S&P 500, there is a stock called the SPY. If you are invest $250 a month in the S&P 500 at the age of 18, at the age of 65, you will have $1.8 million just by passive investing. You're not going to be buying and selling. You're just putting it away and not even ever looking at it. Okay.
Mhm.
So if you think about that, I know it's not sexy because you're 20, whatever you are, and 65 is a long way away. But
Mhm.
$1.8 million is a lot of money for doing nothing except cutting back on my coffee, cutting back on my sneakers, spending a little less money here or there. And look, you don't need to put 250. You can put 50. You can
Mhm.
put 10. But the mindset of investing in your future at your age, the one of my regrets is that I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Since the age of 18, I've wasted a shitload of money on shit, on
Mhm.
stuff that the minute I bought it, it went down in value, right?
Yeah.
I'm moving to a new apartment after my wife passed. I just found myself a new place so I can start my life over again. And I have 35 years worth of shit that I'm going through, right? I've got paintings, I've got sneakers, I got 27 leather jackets. I got so much crap that I bought over the last 50 years that I wish I hadn't bought. I
Yeah.
wish I had put it into the stock market,
Mhm.
right? So if I can give you all one bit of advice is invest in stocks and not stuff. Put whatever you can afford into the stock market, into the biggest exposure that you can, like the S&P 500, right? There's
Mhm.
a thing called the Nasdaq 100. It tracks the tech stocks. If you're a tech guy, if you're an AI guy, the tech stocks are all in the AI space.
Mhm.
But what I'm begging people to do is to stop spending money on stuff and start putting $5 a month, $10 a month, $50 a month, 250, because before you know it, you actually will be 65 years old. And $1.8 million will be an amazing thing to look at when you're 65 and go, holy shit, look at that. Instead of having a house full of stuff, my closets are nice and organized. They're clean. I got 3 leather jackets, 4 pairs of sneakers. I got 1 iPhone, and I got $1.8 million in the fucking bank.
Yeah.
How fucking cool is that?
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. So like, if people want to invest, like what trading platform or what broker do you like recommend is like the best? Like right now there's like a lot of like controversy around like different brokers and everything like that. Like what's like the most reliable you recommend?
It's a hard question for me to answer. I can't be recommending anything to anybody, but I would say, look, go out there and do your homework.
Mm-hmm.
Go out and use a legitimate platform. There are a lot of whether it's Charlie Schwab or TD Ameritrade or Webull. I'm not a particular fan of Robinhood because they kind of screwed people over a couple of times along the way.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, just go out and there's a lot of these roundup apps where you can actually buy a coffee for 3.25 and then 75 cents gets put into the stock market. You
Whoa.
know, I would find myself one of these small online brokerage firms. I would go out there, and this is not a recommendation. You do your own bidding. I'm not telling you what to do, but I've heard that if you are to put some money in the S&P 500, or you can open a look. If you're a young person, it's not going to be easier for you to go get yourself a broker, right? Because they don't talk to young people who don't have any money. That's why this new democratization makes it so that you can do your own shit. So go out there, open an account with Webull or TD Ameritrade or Charlie Schwab, right? Or I work with a company called Alinea, Alinea is a new trading investing app for young women, not just for women, but it's focused on women. I'm on the board of the company. It's
Mm,
for first time women investors. They have these portfolios all curated inside the thing. You can go sign up today. It's a free app, and you can go out and buy a portfolio of stocks if you wish. It's for basically curated for first time women investors. So I would say a lot of the curated portfolios tend to weigh on the side of what a young woman would invest in, like beauty care or look, there's some women who are into sports betting and and MMA fighting. I'm not trying to label anybody, but I'm just saying that's what this app is all about. You can go sign up for Alinea now. It's called Alinea, Alinea. The people who work there are amazing. It was started by women, and it's basically a women-based company, but anybody could use it for investing. It's free, and go out there and just find companies. Go out there and find companies that you're a loyal customer of,
mm,
companies you like the story, you like the products, and then do a little bit of homework. But if not, you can go out there and buy the S&P 500, which gives you exposure to all the tech, all the retail, all the healthcare. It gives you a little bit of everything.
mm.
And historically, that goes year over year up around 10%. And it's a great place to put your money if you so choose.
Wow, that's crazy. I never heard about Alenium. That's like
It's new.
very smart
Good.
idea. Wow, because like especially like this young age, like not it's mostly like young like men or guys that out here like trading, but like you never really hear about like girls or women trading, you know. So like I think that's a really great idea, especially like half the population in the world is also women too. So like so like they're like
Exactly. And women make great traders. I mean, I work with a lot of women traders that are absolutely cutting edge. Women tend to be a little more focused. They're a little bit less all over the friggin' place, and they're fastidious in many different ways. And so this app, it's a new app. It's probably been around now for a couple of years. The people who started it, Anam and Eve Halloumi, really smart young women. They built this beautiful little company. You can easily look it up online. It's Alinea Invest, it's called.
mhm,
And anybody can invest there. So that's a good place. All I can say is that they're honest. No one's going to steal your money from you. It's a great place to start out if you choose.
mhm. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, I just have like two more questions left. I
Sure.
know. So like my next question is like technology impact. Like how has like technology like particularly advancements like the trading platforms and algorithms impacted like the traditional floor trading environment? And what do you see as like the future of human involvement in trading?
Great question. You've got these are really good questions. Okay, so since I got to Wall Street, I got there in 1985. People always joke I got there in 1885, that I went to high school with Alexander Hamilton and George Washington. That's not true. Anyway, in 1985, when I was there, everybody should go out and watch the original Wall Street movie with Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen. That was a really great flick.
Mhm,
And like Wall Street 1 and 2. And then, look, The Wolf of Wall Street. Wolf of Wall Street is, it gives you an eye into, first of all, a really bad guy. Jordan Belfort is a criminal. He's still a fucking crook, and he can eat shit and die. But anyway, he still owes people money. He stole 300 million from people, and he never paid them back. So he's out of jail making a shitload of money talking motivational talking, and he should be in fucking jail. But anyway, I have I have no opinion about that. But anyway, so since I got there in 1985, originally the stock market itself, the New York Stock Exchange. The New York Stock Exchange is what you call an auction market. It is what's
mhm.
called open outcry. Everything was done on paper,
Yeah,
hands, screaming,
yeah.
yelling, like you would imagine, like screaming and yelling in the newspaper. And there was no technology really, although if you look back at it now, it was really literally the original blockchain. In the old days, in the 80s and 90s, when I went out to a trade to buy or sell stock, there was other brokers, the other side of the trade. I was a buyer, they were a seller. I had my badge, I had a seat on the stock exchange, gave me the right to trade stock. And
Mm.
then there was what's called a reporter. So a reporter was a guy, he would sit there, and it was like those computer cards. Remember, did you take the SATs?
Yeah.
Okay, so you remember there were those, like, it's like if you play the lottery, it was like a computer card, and with a pencil, you used to fill in these little
Oh, like a
lines,
Scantron.
like a scan.
Uh, okay.
So back in the old days, when we were in an open outcry trading environment, and stocks were trading like crazy all over the place, there was a guy there who had to map out the ledger of those trades. Right when
Mm-hmm.
things were really wild and crazy, 10,000 shares traded here, 2,200 traded there, 50,000 traded there, a million shares traded here. Bear Stearns bought from Goldman Sachs. Wells Fargo bought from Morgan Stanley. It was wild. Broker 588 bought from broker 275, right? That traded at 37 and a quarter. That traded at 48 and a half. All of that was information that needed in the old days. It took 7 days. So when we trade on the floor of the stock exchange, no money is ever transfers hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Right? That's not how we work. We work on trust, right? So I could trade $1,000 worth of stock or $1,000,000 worth of stock. It's my word is my bond, right? I
Mm-hmm.
give the guy my name, the company I represent, the price of the stock, and what time the trade happened, and then 7 days later, the back office transfers the money back and forth.
Oh.
That's how it happened back in the old days. Well, now, so in those days, there was a reporter who every transaction, every 100 shares, 1,000 shares, 10,000 shares, million shares that transacted was put down on one of these pieces of paper, a Scantron. I bought 10,000 shares of IBM at $137.50 at 11:37 in the morning from broker, from Bear Stearns, badge number 675. All that information was put down on this piece of paper and was put into a machine that went up into the stratosphere and created the ticker tape that everybody sees all over the world. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That was the original blockchain ledger. So we don't think of it now. We think of blockchain and crypto and all that shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
In those days, that was the original blockchain, because we had to create a ledger, because 7 days later, we had to go back to that transaction, right? And identify who bought, who sold, how many shares, what time it happened. And then we would match up the money, right? You getting what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was how it traded back then. It was all open outcry, no technology at all. Over the years, I think probably somewhere in the so computers came into being in 1983, right? So in 1985 was really the first part of what we had any kind of computers on the floor. We had these things called Quotron machines. Quotron machines were a static TV set, and we used to be able to put information on there, right? And then as the years went by, the computer grew and whatnot. Obviously, the internet didn't happen for a long time after that, but the technology sort of grew slowly, and we on the floor of the exchange maintained a humanist perspective for many, many years. It wasn't until the mid 2000s that we started adopting any kind of technology, where we would get these handheld computers where we traded stock using that. Up until 2006, we were still trading using paper, right? I had a pad in my pocket, a buy pad, a sell pad, and everything was being done on paper, screaming, yelling, telephones, all that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously, technology's been taking over our lives. The technology came in, was started to become adopted by the stock exchange. And I would say probably in the mid 2000s, we started adopting the use of technology to trade stock. We had handheld computers, things were being done. The trades themselves were being matched up electronically. An order would come in to sell, an order would come in to buy. If they were at the same price electronically, they got matched up and they executed. They traded automatically.
Yeah.
In the old days, every share of stock, from 10 shares, 100 shares, a million shares, was being done manually from
Yeah.
broker to broker, and it was reported by a reporter.
Mm-hmm.
Then as technology came in, things started to happen electronically, and things, the more and more as time went by, things started, electronic trading happened. So to this point, now things are very much done. Most things are done electronically. The New York Stock Exchange, even though there used to be tens of exchanges all over the world, the Pacific Exchange, the Midwest Exchange, the London Exchange, Singapore, Amsterdam, all over the world, there were human interaction stock exchanges all over the world. But as technologies come into our lives over the last 30 years, everybody, all those exchanges shut down or became electronic exchanges, except the New York Stock Exchange. The New York Stock Exchange is still a human interactive exchange, although a lot of what we do is being done electronically. But we've spent a lot of time and money trying to maintain the human element at the New York Stock Exchange. And I believe it will be there forever. Yes, are all the other human exchanges gone? There are. Our lives now with AI and all this other stuff obviously are being taken over by technology. And for me, I don't even own a computer. I don't like technology. I'm an old school screaming, yelling. I love to do shit on paper, right? I actually have here, this is one of my old pads, right? This was called a quote pad. It says Peter Tuchman on the bottom, and that's how I used to buy and sell stock, right? I'd buy 100,000 shares of stock. Let's see if I got a pen here. I'll show you how we did it. Let's see if we got this thing. So I'd walk into a crowd. I'd walk into a crowd where, let's say, IBM is trading, and I had an order to buy 100,000 shares of IBM with a $152 top. That's how it worked, right? I'd walk into the crowd, and I would do an auction market like you ever seen in a Sotheby's art auction or the stock market. I would walk in, and I had 100,000 to buy with a 152 top. I would go into the crowd. I'd ask everybody how the market is. There'd be sellers there, buyers there, and we would trade. And then I would rip the paper off on the back. When I traded, I would say, okay, I bought 10,000 at 151 and a quarter. That leaves me 90,000 shares. I would write down the name of the broker I traded with. I'd throw my hand in the air. A little guy in a blue jacket named the Squad would come running over. He'd grab the paper, take it to the booth. The booth would call up the desk upstairs. He would report the trade. The teletypist would input it into the computer. And that's how we used to do business. Now, so this is old school shit, right? I haven't pulled this thing out for years. But anyway, now we have a handheld computer. It kind of looks like an iPad, right? And we hold it in our hands. The orders come down electronically into a system at the booth where I work. And then it comes through the booth and it comes into my handheld. I walk out to the stock. Some people don't even walk out to where the market makers are. So on the stock exchange, when you come to visit me, we'll do another video and I'll show you the difference between brokers and market makers and specialists and all that kind of stuff. Visually, it won't make as much sense now. But now I get an order electronically. I send it out. I can see the market in my hand, in my iPad, and I will interact the market. I will put it in an algorithm, 10% of the volume, aggressive, passive, whatever I want to, depending on what the instructions are. And I can completely engage the market electronically. I love the human element still, so I try and keep my human interaction as high level as possible. If I have a big order, I go out to the market maker and I talk to him. Where are the sellers? Where are the buyers? What's the market been lately? Who's doing what to who? So there is still a lot of human interaction being done on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. I believe there will be humans there forever. And I know I will be there until the end of friggin' time, until they lock the doors, which I don't think is going to happen. I brought my son into the business. In the old days, it was a very family-oriented business because it was about money. Who else do you trust with money except family? So in the old days, there were 8,000 people on the floor of the exchange. There were 70 market-making firms. All of them were family-owned businesses. My son and I are the last father and son team on the floor of the exchange. We work together really well. He's really smart. He always wanted to work on Wall Street. So I'm really happy we were able to get this done. But so I say all this to say that, yes, the technology is there. Yes, we've preserved the human element in a big, big way. the algorithms and electronic trading, are they here? Yes, they're here. Are they here to stay? Yes, I guess they are.
Mm.
Do I think that humans will always be around to some extent in the New York Stock Exchange? I do believe that. But surely, as we've seen with every business, technology has outsourced human beings in a big way, right? I recently did a podcast with this guy, Dan Ives, who I'm doing a new show with called Einstein and Ives. He's a tech analyst for a company called Wedbush. And we talked about AI. He had just come from the CES show, the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas. And
Mm.
I asked what was some of the new shit. And he goes, Peter, you have no idea. Trillions of dollars are being spent on like robots, right? In fact, in 2025, the Chinese have made a new flying car. You'll actually be able to be driving your car, hit a friggin' button, and then the car becomes a fucking plane. And you'll have a flying car that then can also go and be amphibious and go into the ocean. I mean, there are robots in your kitchen, there are robots to clean up, there are robots to, to cook. I mean, the trajectory of technology with AI is unbelievable. We're seeing it in the
Yeah.
healthcare industry. I bet you AI was probably your next question, but we can talk about that later. But that so anyway, you asked. My relationship to technology is not a good one. I don't like it, but I'm doing everything in my power to maintain the human element in the best way possible. We are not the only business that's been outsourced by technology. It is the way of the future. I can't resist it any longer, so I'm trying to adopt it.
Mm.
Um, I am totally technologically challenged, and that's who I am. But you know what? I think we need to just look at the best case scenario about AI and about technology and how it's going to benefit our lives in a good way. And so, do I think it's benefited the stock market? I would go back. I would rather go back to the old days in a minute, but that's me.
Mm.
Some people feel that the markets are more efficient with some of the technology. I don't know. I don't go for it. But anyway, humans are here to stay.
Don't you think that there's like way more volume now and more like like volatility in the markets now since like there's like technology and like people from all over the world can like trade the markets? Is it there more?
Maybe a little bit, but you know what? Look, in 1980, 1990, there was no technology and the volume was still in the billions of shares. I don't know if that's really changed. It's changed the dynamic because most shares that trade are 100 share lots that are trading in small little bits. Um, is it increased the volatility? Yes, perhaps it has because the market electronically trading in the old days, human beings trading the stocks were not as volatile. So yes, you are right in that technology has added to the volatility, perhaps maybe a little bit of the volume, but I don't know if it's done anything good for the market.
I was just wondering, like back in like the 80s or the 90s, like did you guys do like market analysis or a technical analysis on like everything? It was
Oh, absolutely. Of course there was. So
you,
look, technical in the old days, look, before computers, I would imagine technical analysis was being done by little guys with funny glasses sitting there with charts like an old accountant or something. Surely technology has added to the availability of being able to analyze technical analysis and look at charts and add all these things into it. It surely is much, much easier.
mm,
So I'm sure technology is added into the availability and the enabling people to analyze stocks in different ways. Just think about it. We're going to see that with AI too, because AI is basically able to take billions of points of data and
mm,
analyze them and view them and come up with the thing, right? If I'm going in for surgery and the doctor is able to basically go on the internet and see an analysis of everybody on earth who has had this surgery before me. And so he will then have that information going into my surgery. Well, that's a cool thing,
mm.
right? We're going to see AI benefit our world in very many cases. Healthcare will be one of them in so many different ways. So, I guess in that way, technology has added a lot, but technical analysis has been around for a long time.
Mm. Would you like trust like human analysis more or let's say like an AI analysis trading bot that like is specifically made to analyze the market?
Look, the AI bots are only as good as the people who program them. I think the question has been asked of me over the last couple of years a lot because of the whole influx of AI and whatnot. And will AI ever take over, market analysts and stuff like that, or would you ever give your money to an AI run algorithm to trade the market for you? I don't think I would. Maybe perhaps some people will. The more AI is
Evolving.
well, the more we learn about it, and it becomes so advanced. It may add some great benefits to people analyzing stocks at the end of the day. But I'm watching. So right now we trade in the market using algorithms. Okay, I trade manually, but a lot of our day we can send an order into an algorithm that's like 10% of the volume, passive, aggressive, all these different little things to it, right? These algorithms that people built, volume weighted average, time weighted average, all these different little data points, right, that will affect the way the market is engaged using these algorithms. At the end of the day, over the last 5 years since COVID, the market has been so volatile, right? With the meme phenomenon, we saw stocks go from GameStop went from $2 to $483 and right back down to $157 and then right back down to $5, right? Now, we also saw the spike in volume when everybody ran into these stocks, right? And so if you think about it, more people, and this is what I do, I am a forensic broker. I was analyzing all the meme stocks during that phenomenon every single day for hours. I was watching where the volume was. And unfortunately, 90% of the volume in GameStop in those days was at the highest price. What does that mean? That means that people and algorithms were paying $483 for that stock because the algorithm was chasing the excitement, was chasing the volume, was chasing the volatility. A human being trading the market will know that when it runs up from 2 to 483, that you could bet your bottom dollar it's going to come right back down to 100.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason for it to go from 2 to 480.
Yeah.
It's just that on memification.
Yeah.
It's right. It's just doing it because a bunch of robots are buying it. So in those case scenarios, I don't think it's a good thing, right? I know that 90% of the people who bought AMC at 70, who bought GameStop at 480, who bought all those stocks, lost a shitload of money because they were just chasing the volatility. A human broker has experience like myself. I watched those stocks, right? I was in GameStop on those days where it ran up to 483, and I had a buyer for a customer. And I called my partner, David Green, who is my partner in my trading academy, who's an amazing teacher and trader. And when GameStop was trading at $483, I said to him, David, where should I start buying GameStop again? And he looked at the charts, and the charts told us that you should not start buying GameStop until $151. It was trading at 483. And I said to him, what are you, crazy? It's trading at 480. He said, Peter, the charts tell us that the only support that this stock has is at $151. It ran from 3 to 483 for no reason, with no support. And sure enough, the stock went from 483 all the way down to 150 and three quarters. The price he picked, it went all the way almost to the penny, 25 cents through that price. And then it went up $30, and then it went up $30, right? So technology, technical analysis works. It's extraordinary because it tracks support and resistance. No algorithm or AI is going to be able to do that. So in certain situations, it may work. It may be beneficial, but more times than not, the human mind and experience is better than those the algorithm.
Yeah, what do you think about crypto, like Bitcoin? On Bitcoin, like in the beginning, like February last year, like 2023, it was like down 20,000. It was like $20,000, and just over the span, like this past year, it just grew up to like $40,000. Like, what? How do you explain like the rise in crypto and the fall in crypto? Like,
So, uh, crypto is something that I resisted for the longest time because I didn't understand it. And
mm-hmm,
I'm not the only one who did that. A lot of people did that.
yeah,
Wealthier people, super smart people, super wealthy people, and whatnot. So first of all, crypto is something that's pretty abstract. Nobody really understands what it is. I mean, you mine it. How do you mine it? How many are there? Who's
mm-hmm,
involved? Is it real? Is it not real? Can you use it for anything? There is more unknowns about it than knowns. And
mm-hmm,
when I don't understand something and I'm not in control of my situation, and there's a lot of unknowns more than things that I know about it, I kind of stay away from it.
mm-hmm,
Now, look, if I'm sitting here at $50,000 per coin, am I pissed off at myself that I didn't buy it at 3,000? Of course I am, right? I would be an idiot if I didn't, right? I mean, I like money just like the next guy. However, why did it make the move it made? So look, digital currency is a pretty abstract thing, right? I'm a fan of the blockchain. The blockchain makes a lot of sense to me. Tokenization of things of value makes sense to me. Does Bitcoin make sense to me? I don't know. I don't really know. Things like that they're worth what people are willing to pay for them, right? When you have something that has a limited supply, it's going to go up in price due to supply and demand, right? If there's only 20 oranges at the store and everybody wants to make orange juice, those oranges become worth more than if there was 1,000 oranges. Supply and demand is the nature of the friggin' business. You know what I'm saying? So the whole supply and demand concept of Bitcoin, all the sort of fanfare and all the hysteria around it, and the Elon Musks and the world adopting this as a payment schedule and all that stuff. It's been a slow go. Uh, uh, you know, um, do I think it's here to stay? I kind of do at this point. I think it's here. You asked me why did it go up this year from 20 to 50? Look, it may go back down to 20. I don't know, right? Why did it go down? Well, for lots of different reasons. We had 2022 was a very difficult year in the stock market. Market was down double digits. People were looking for an alternative place to put their money. Some people started buying Bitcoin, right? Over the last year, you started getting the legitimacy of Bitcoin became a lot more apparent. A lot of the bigger companies started buying it. A lot of wealthier people started buying it. So the notoriety, the legitimacy of it happened so that people who were very skeptical about it up until recently are now jumping in, right?
mm-hmm,
People, sometimes people like to buy things when buy a falling knife, and some people like to buy on momentum. The thing about Bitcoin is that everybody doesn't want to miss the boat. They want to be part of the party. They want to be at the party, right? And so when it started taking off and it broke above 40, everybody thought, oh shit, I missed the boat. I better hop in, right? I think over the last year, we have a global, obviously, we've got a war going on with Ukraine and Russia, and we have a war going on in the Middle East. When there is a global confrontation, people try to seek safe haven assets. Historically, before Bitcoin, that asset was gold, right? Physical gold, we always know it will have value. So when you've had a war going on in the world, or you've had some kind of a crisis, everybody flocks into gold. This year, everybody flocked into gold, and they also felt that gold was trading at a record high this year, 2150. They also decided that Bitcoin was a safe haven asset. And so a lot of people started hopping on that bandwagon once it broke above a certain price.
mm-hmm,
So I think it's here to stay. I kind of think it's fascinating. I don't really get it. Do I own any Bitcoin? I don't think I do.
mm-hmm.
I used to have a couple of NFTs that were tied to Bitcoin. So I may have a couple slices of a coin. I surely don't have a lot of any money really invested in it. So that's it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Well, my last and final question is like, like for like individuals aspiring to enter the world of finance and trading, like, what advice do you have, like based on your own personal experience and observations? Like, what advice do you have?
Okay. So look, finance has a lot of different components to it, right? So you can be an investor. Everybody should be an investor in the market at some point. As I told you earlier on, everybody should take $5, $10, $50 a month and put it in the stock market and forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
Trading the market is a very fun thing. Millions of people around the world are doing it. They say that as of March of 2024, there will be 1 billion 1 billion retail traders in India alone. So the whole trading community is exploding. Okay, so I think if people want to learn, and I'm happy to be the one who teaches them and mentors and coaches them, I think day trading is a wonderful opportunity to make a little disposable income, and
Mm-hmm.
also some people want to do it as a career. If you want to learn the language of trading and investing, it's a wonderful thing to take to a job interview. It's a wonderful thing for a college kid to learn the whole lingo and technical analysis. These are things we teach every day to young people, and we know people whose it's changed their lives. It's helped them get jobs during interviews. It's helped them make a bunch of disposable income. Some people quit their jobs and went on to become successful day traders. There's a whole plethora of different opportunities out there. As far as finance goes, it's whatever floats your boat. Some people find money exciting. There's obviously money to be made in finance. Some people want to become portfolio managers. Some people want to become analysts. Some people want to, there's so many, accounting is one thing. Finance has so many different parts to it, right? I think there's going to be a lot of, obviously, a lot of these companies are trillions of dollars are being spent within the AI space, and a lot of these are publicly traded companies. So look, finance is in every nook and cranny of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of finding some part of it that gets you up in the morning and gets your juices flowing. If I wasn't trading on the floor of the stock exchange, for me, what I love is branding, advertising, and marketing. I love selling stuff. I love the psychology of advertising. I love logos. I love all that shit,
Mm-hmm.
right? My office is on the floor of the stock exchange. Every day, there's nothing but logos going by me as the stocks are trading, right? For me, that gets me excited. I love that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I look within social media, look, there's e-commerce, right? There are millions of people. I know most of them are full of shit, but there's millions of people online who are making money, with an Amazon store or an Etsy this and a Schmetsy that and all that other shit. People making money and doing business. There's tons of opportunities out there. A lot of opportunity within finance. So it's just a matter of you finding something you love to do. I think that's the best advice I can give people, because if you end up in a career with a job that you don't like, you will be a miserable motherfucker, right? And that's not going to be great at home with your spouse, your partner, your kids. Nobody likes a miserable motherfucker. Somebody wants, whether you become wealthy or not, if you're doing something you love, you're going to have a good life, right? And the people around you are going to really want to hang out with you and have some fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
So go find something you love in whatever business it is. And I think there's plenty of opportunity in finance.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, that was great, Peter. Yeah, I think that's like pretty much all my questions for today. Do you have any like final inputs that you want to add?
No, you know what? Look, I love the questions. They were really good. I do
Okay.
millions of interviews, and you came up with some really good questions, and I think we got some really good answers.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I want people to know that I'm available to them. I do a lot of one-on-one stuff. Anybody who DMs me on Instagram will get an answer from me. There's no robots there. I love, as I said, I love what I do. So I love imparting that on people.
Mm-hmm.
People need to wake up grateful that they're alive. Go out and find something you love to do. Surround yourself with people that are successful, right? It's really important to people who are not suffering from envy and jealousy, people who want the best for you, and
Mm-hmm.
people who want you the best for them, right? Find some humility in your life, find some gratitude and kindness. Go out there and figure out what really gets your juices flowing so that when you wake up in the morning, right? The day is endless. There's endless opportunity in the day. That's the key, right? And trust me, no opportunity is going to find you hiding under the covers, all drunk and hungover from the night before, right? You got to go out there and find and make your story.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to make your story, create your journey, right? And look, in this world we're living in right now, the sky is the fucking limit, man.
Yeah.
Any anybody out there, can become successful, can become wealthy. It's a matter of finding fulfillment, right? Success comes in many different forms. Fulfillment is the key, right? Fulfillment doesn't mean I'm rich. Fulfillment means that what I'm doing, it has a positive effect on the world, and I leave this world in a better condition than when I got here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess another thing is like, how do you like practice your gratitude and like, wake up? It's hard for people to like, people are really like complacent, like, oh, like it's a new thing, and then like the excitement goes away, and then we start being less like grateful. Like, how do you practice gratitude, and like how do you like just like make it a priority in every day?
Oh, great, 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 great question. So, look, it does not come easily,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, it's like a muscle, right? It becomes muscle memory. Look, people need to find some kind of a higher power in their lives that moves them, whatever their spiritual. People need to, your the positivity of your life is based on the equilibrium of your spiritual condition. So you kind of need to find something that gives you some kind of inner peace. It finds something that gives you that ability to connect with another human being. Gratitude. Look, sometimes you got to fake it until you make it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I don't wake up grateful every morning, right? I've gone through so much adversity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Coming from the days of COVID and really coming close to dying,
Yeah.
having 9 surgeries, living through my wife's illness and her passing. I mean, these are things that are really hard to come back from,
Mm-hmm.
right? No one would begrudge me if I went out there and got all drunk and fucked up and hated the world and hid under the covers, depressed and fucking went out and offed myself, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right. But at the end of the day, one needs to find a higher purpose in this, and the higher purpose comes really from what can I do to help somebody else out. So one thing in my spiritual practices is to be of service to other people. Right
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, when I'm really down and I'm alone and I'm isolating, and I don't really know what to do with all the negativity in my soul, right? The only way out of that is to be of service to another person. So
Yeah.
when I wake up some days and I am grateful and I'm just fucking having a party, and my life is good and I'm feeling strong and I can see all the planets are aligning and shit's great. Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. And there's some days I wake up and it's really dark and I got to drag myself out of bed and out of the muck and the mire and the swamp that's my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot where I was going with this. And so, you know, where I had a point. Um, and so, and sometimes you literally, be of service. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
get up, put on your clothes. Whether if you believe in God, talk to God for a minute, right? Instead, take a
Mm-hmm.
second aside, and just go like, what's going on here? Where am I at? And then get out on the street, walk down the block, right? Give a homeless guy a friggin' sandwich, go out and smile at someone and say hi. Sometimes it's really very simple
Yeah.
acts of kindness, random acts of kindness. There's a thing in the Jewish religion, there's a thing called the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is like this old Jewish mystical part of the religion. And they have a concept that random acts of kindness will put you in the light, right? So, you will find it's amazing. And I try and practice this to the best of my ability. But when I wake up and everything is dark and I'm wearing a 25,000-pound fucking blanket and I just can't get out of my way, calling someone up and saying, how you doing? Walking down the street and give somebody a fucking buttered roll, walking down the street and smiling and saying hi to someone can get me out of myself just long enough where I can find a little brightness in my day. And I know it sounds fucking corny,
No,
but
that's
trust me, it works.
yeah.
It works like a motherfucker, right? And it's really important, because rarely will I ever, well, I will never regret doing that. I will never come out of my darkness into the light and sit there and go, wow, I'm really angry. I'm really pissed at myself that I gave that guy a buttered roll or $1, or I smiled at that lady, right? That's never going to happen, And so it really works. It may sound corny, but at the end of the day, time is limited. If I could get back some of the time that with my wife, I'd take it back in a minute, right? Time is a fleeting thing. We don't know what God's plan is here, right? We don't know if we're here for 20 years or for 120 years, but all we know is that we can get that time is limited, but we can get the most out of our day, any given day, one day at a time. If we can, we'll get out of life what we put into it, right? And so there's no point in wasting a day. You think about how many days that we were really down and we lied in bed and we just couldn't get out and we accomplished nothing, right? That's a wasted day. That's a wasted time that we could have done something super cool. So go out, connect with another human being, right? And be your best self. That's the bottom line.
Wow.
If you're having trouble, DM me and I'll fucking get you out of I'll get you out of the fucking woods, man.
Yeah. Wow. That's actually really great advice. Cause yeah, like just like walking down the street, like talking to somebody, getting to know other people, like it just like makes you like out of like stop thinking about like yourself in your own brain, like just get off your own. Like your problems not that big, like there's other people experiencing like way worse shit than you are. So
exactly. You know what? I learned that growing up with my parents, right? So I told you a little story of my parents. Think about it. Came from a very wonderful background. They had a beautiful life as children. Then suddenly, the world turned on its head. Suddenly, everybody wanted to kill the Jews, like they want to do right now. Again, it's happening, and everyone in their family was murdered. My father watched his own mother, be shot in the head and murdered right in front of him. My mother watched 72 members of her family, including her mother and father, walk into the gas chamber and never come out, right? So people came out of that experience two different ways. Some became victims their whole lives. They were not able to get out of that darkness. They lived the rest of their lives as victims, and they were never able to get out of that. And I don't begrudge them. Look, having experienced that, having at least a relationship to that through my parents, I get it. There's some people just couldn't get out of that. And then there's some people who were able to find gratitude, find a partner, find a way to get past that. And my parents would always say to me when I complained as a kid, they would always remind me that it could be worse. And I know kids don't want to hear it, people don't want to hear it. But at the end of the day, it's an important thing. Whatever it takes to get you out of the funk is, what, we should be grateful. So also there's a thing called the gratitude list. If people look, I'm sure there are a bunch of young people who are followers of yours who it's not peaches and cream for them every day. Some people may be going through shit. They may be going through mental illness, depression, whatever it may be. It has been a really hard time 16, 20-year olds over the last 5 years. I don't begrudge. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, is because I know what it's been like for me over the last 5 years. I can only imagine what it's like for so many other people, right? But at the end of the day, wake up in the morning and write a gratitude list, or at the end of the day when you're done, right? About, even if it's the simplest things, we need to what's called take inventory about ourselves. What have I done today that was helpful to another human being?
Mhm.
What do I have that I should be grateful for, whether it's a house over a roof over my head, whether it's food on the plate, whether it's a family or a partner that loves me, whether it's a job that I love, whether it's the service you're doing with your platform on YouTube. That's all it can take. It's a gratitude list, right?
Mhm.
We need to remind ourselves, oh, yeah. And then I just get to say to myself, oh, yeah, right. Life's not that fucking bad. I'm having a bad day. I'll
Mhm.
come back from a bad day. I'll
Mhm.
come back from a bad week, but I don't want to get locked up in that real darkness, because that just doesn't achieve anything.
Yeah, wow. That's actually great advice. Wow. Okay, wow. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, Peter. So hold on.